Cool. Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be part 4 of our series in creating your own ChatGPT interface using Blazor. So I think today what we're going to do is we're going to cover adding the system context, we'll add the image generation, and we'll add the loading indicator and just tidy up a few little things from last time we were going through this. If we've got a bit more time, we might have a look at adding the audio, but that might be saved for the next video. So if we jump straight in, go back into Visual Studio. So last time, as you know, we pretty much got the chat interface kind of working. We could send our requests through and it would render them out for us. What I want to do today is, as I said, tackle the system context, so we'll get rid of all this hard-coded stuff over here. But to begin with, what I wanted to do was just tidy this up a little bit. It's a bit unwieldy. I just want to make that look a bit better. So I think if we just go into here, what we'll do is we'll just say, we'll create a new method in here. And we'll just say append to current item, and then what we'll do is just pass this message in. Append to that, so then we can tidy this up a little bit. So it'll just be, and this will come in handy with some of the stuff we're going to do a bit later as well. I'm going to try to refactor this. So what we can do here then is just say append, and then we can get rid of all of this stuff here. We'll just pass that in, and then I think we'll just tidy this one up as well, and we'll just add a method to get the text for the last item. Right, that should do that, and then we can tidy this up as well. Just go to conversation. Okay, that's a bit tidier. What I'm going to do at some point as well is actually move all this stuff into its own controlling class, but we'll do that a bit later. Okay, so I think last time we added this is busy flag. We didn't actually do anything with it, so I think what we should do now is add the loading component. One of the other things I wanted to do as well, when I created this, I've done a lowercase c. It's not what we wanted. We want an uppercase C in here. And I think let's just rename this namespace as well. Okay, so I think that's done it. Right, there we go. And let's just double check that. That should be fine. That should be fine. We should all be able to build still. Just before we go any further. Cool, so that's all good. All right, cool. So I think what we'll do is we'll add another razor component, and this will be our loading indicator. It's quite a simple little one to create. So we'll go over here. We'll call this loading indicator. Yeah, that's spelled correctly. Again, what we'll do is we'll just add another file for the CSS. Razor CSS. That looks good. Okay, then yeah, this one's going to be quite a simple component. All we need to do is just, I'm just going to show you, I mean, there's many loading indicators you could use. Quite like these pure CSS ones, so I'm just going to grab this one. You can go over here. There's many other websites you can do it, or you can create your own. It's really up to you how you want to do that. But all we need essentially is just to grab this CSS over here. I think they've actually got a copy button, so we can pretty much just copy that. We can go to our CSS file and we can put it in here. Just tidy this up a little bit. That looks better, and then we can just grab the markup for that as well. We'll leave the code there because we'll need that in a second. Okay, and then what we're going to need on here is just another parameter. So what we'll do with this is we'll pass through the isBusy flag. So we'll just create method here for is busy. The other thing I want to do as well is pass through some text so that we can set some text on there. I'll show you in a second. So if we just call this status text, and then let's just tidy this up a little bit. It's a bit messy. Oh, where's my format gone? Seem to have lost my format option, but anyway, let's just do this manually quickly. The other thing we want to do, so I want to just put some classes around here. So what I want is to have a div, and then I want this inside it. And I want to have another div over here with the actual status text just above it. Actually, I think we'll put it below. We can see how that looks in a second, actually. And then let's just give these some classes. Again, I'm going to copy some CSS that I've already got just to keep things short. This just basically sets the color and positions it a little bit for us. So we'll call it the loading area, and then we'll give this a class of loading text. And then if we go to our CSS file quickly, I'm just going to add a few bits to here. So we'll just add these in. So what we've got is the loading area. It just sets the background, sets the border radius so you get the nice rounded edges. Then just the width and setting margin auto so that it centers itself. And then for the loading texture, we're just setting the size and the color. So that looks good. And then yeah, the other thing we would just want to do over here is just say if is busy. Oh, sorry, before that. It's only if we are loading, then we'll show this section over here. Perfect. And then what we should be able to do is go and reference this on our chat input. So if we get back to here, I think we can just put this, not in the input area, just over here below the conversation. There might be a bit more CSS I need to put in here for this. Let's just check quickly. That's our loading indicator, and then what we want to do is just set the is busy. And we want to set the status text as well, which I don't have yet. So let's just make another property here called status text. Just initialize that as empty for now. And we'll set that over there. And then the other thing we need to do, that doesn't like that over here. Let's do that. The other thing we need to do is obviously when we're loading, just set this flag to true or false. Oh, sorry, I put this wrong over here. There we go. Status text, right, there we go. Yeah, so what I'll do, because we're going to be adding a few other methods in here as well, so I'll just make a method over here called set is busy. And what we'll do is we'll just take the message and we'll take the value as well. So we have status text. Okay. And then what we'll do in here is we'll just say we'll set the status text in here as well to the status text. That way it's a bit easier to call it from the different places. So what we're going to do in here, so when we come in, before we do our search, we'll just say set is busy. We'll set that to true, and we'll just say generating text. For now, we can come and change it in a minute. And then, yeah, what we'll do here as well, actually, sorry, is just default this property to nothing. And then when we've finished, we'll just set is busy to false. And then we don't need to pass that in. Okay, so that should do hopefully what we need. Let's give that a quick run. Okay, so let's just see how that's looking. Not great. Oh, sorry, I think what we need to do, so let's just take this and we just need to move this inside to the input area. Save that, and then if we go back here, let's just try that out again. There we go. Yes, now it's on top where we wanted it. It's here saying generating text, and then once it's finished, it should disappear. Yep, there we go. Perfect. Okay, cool. So I think what we should do now that we've got that working, is let's add the image, and then we'll go back and we'll add all the context menus, the system context. Okay, so in order to do that, what we need to do is go to our chat input. What we need to do is add another button on here. So I'm going to copy over some code for this. Again, it's just another button. What we need to do is add another event for it. So we'll do another event handler over here called on image generated clicked. Again, it's got the busy, and it's just got a slightly different icon on there. Other than that, it should be the same. And we're still actually debugging that, so we can actually see. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so you can see that's come up now. Yeah. Perfect. And then what we need to do on our chat page, we're going to have to add a new method now for searching for an image. So I'll tell you what, I just want to move this up here. And then we'll make another method over here just to call the image generation. Generate image. And what we need to do then is call this from over here. We should have on, what did we call it? On image generation clicked. The annoying thing about debugging this and trying to write is the IntelliSense doesn't work very well. Right, let's give that a go quickly. So I think if we put breakpoint there and we now click the, yeah, you can see it's hit our breakpoint over here, perfect. So now all we need to do is just add some code in there. I'm just going to copy and paste a bit of code again. This is all on the GitHub. All it's doing is calling the API. So let me grab that for us, save us a bit of time. 1 second, I just need to find it. Okay, cool. So yeah, let's just put this into here. So just change a few things on this. So we'll say set is busy. And what we need to do on here is we can say conversation add item, and then we don't need all of this stuff. We've tidied this up a little bit better. And then the content we want, it's just the image. I'm just going to stop this quickly while we're doing this. The other thing we want to do actually on here, that just reminded me, is put the some error text on here, and then we'll go make a little error handler, pretty similar to how we've done the status text. Let's just do that. We need to actually handle that over here as well. So there we go. That should do that. So all this is doing, setting this busy flag, we're then using the OpenAI service to generate an image based on whatever we've got in the text box. And we're just passing one in for that's the number of images to generate. So just generating one. You can obviously tweak that and generate however many you want. And then yeah, if it's a success, we're then going to add the item. And what we do with the response that comes back from the OpenAI, you can choose either to get a URL back or to get the binary, like the base64 back. By default, it will return you the URL. So all we're doing is we adding to the messages an image tag, and then this will get encoded as HTML and render for us. We've got the error. Yeah, and the error happens. We show the error. Otherwise, we set is busy as false. So I think if we give that a quick test, that should actually work for us. Okay, cool. So let's just do something like generate image of a cat in a hat. And then if we click this generate image button, hopefully, yeah, it's hit our breakpoint over here. That's good. Let's just take this breakpoint off. We'll continue. Should say, yeah, generating image. And if all is successful, we should hopefully see an image appear. Yeah, there we go. That's certainly a cat in a hat. Right. So that's that bit done. Cool, so that's that bit done. I think what we should do now quickly is just go and handle this error case over here. So let's just stop this quickly. What we'll do is we'll just add another component here. We'll add an error indicator. And again, on this one, we'll just take a few properties. Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll just have a string on here called error text. We'll make this a parameter so we can bind to it. And then what we'll do, I've got a bit of markup again that I've done, so I'll just copy that over just to save us some time here. We're basically just saying if there is some error text set, then show this bit of HTML, and I'll just grab some CSS as well. I think we need to just add a CSS file here, so let's do that. Okay, cool. I'm just going to copy this over. And again, very just simple stuff. We're just setting the background, border radius, and again the margin just to center it. And then we're just setting the text and the font size. So there we go, that's that bit done. And then again, on here, we'll just add the error indicator. We don't need a busy flag on there. All we're looking at is just the error text on here, which we've got there. And then that should work. I mean, in order to test this quickly, I can raise an error, but I think if we just set this to just for example, and then we can go handle the errors on here in a sec. Okay, cool. So that's popped up. So you can see because it's got some text set, this is how it would show the errors if they do appear. So that's great. We'll just set that to nothing for now. String that empty, which I prefer. And then what we can do over here, we haven't handled any error cases on here. So if for this get streaming method, you can't really handle the result that comes back. You have to put a try catch around it in order to handle this case. So we'll go ahead and do that quickly. What we'll do is just shove that in there. Just going to stop that quickly. And what we'll do is just add a finally where we always set the busy flag to false. That we'll just add into there. That cool. So yeah, if an error happens, then we'll just set this error text. Start my S over here. Over here, we will just set it to that for now. We could show the exception, but that's bad practice to just show a random exception. Okay, for these ones, we actually get the response back from OpenAI. They have their own error response which they return. So we allow to just show those ones. So for now, I think that will be good. Yeah, if I could spell that, occurred. Right, I think the next thing to do is let's go and tackle this search context. We'll just add a little sidebar just so we can set it. I'm not sure if that'll end up being there in the final version of this, but for the purpose of testing and debugging, it's quite useful. We could potentially just enable it for debug mode when we're working with it. So again, to do that, what we're going to do, another component, add another Razor component. We'll call this system context. Okay, let's just add a CSS file while we're here. Razor.css. Okay, perfect. And then what we want to do with this one is just put it over here, and we'll have the system context. Actually, you know what, I think I might just rename this to be conversation context. Yeah, let's do that. Call that conversation context. It's because I can't spell. Conversation context. Well, I can spell. I just can't type clearly. There we go. That's the conversation view, so that's fine. Okay, perfect. So what we're going to want to bind to this conversation context is our current search model. So if we go into that conversation context, let's just add those properties. So we're going to want the search model. So just bring in the using for that. And I've added a flag on here for is visible because I'll make it collapsible in a little bit. And then let's just grab some markup that we're going to need for that. Again, so pretty simple stuff. I've got a few classes and things I've created already, but we're just saying if it's visible, then show it. We're binding this form to our search model, and then we've got two input areas on there, one for the system context and one for the assistant context. Right, and then what I'll do is I'll just grab some of the CSS that I've already done. So we just got a class around the conversation context and each of these just to kind of position it and stuff a bit better for us. I'm going to copy and paste this. Yeah, it's just a few classes here. I'll let you guys obviously go and have a play with this, but it's pretty much just positioning it and setting some background colors for us. So with that in place, we should now be able to run it again. Let's have a look. Yeah, it would help if we also set the parameters on there. So let's just do that quickly. We need to set the search model. So we'll set the search model equals our search model. And the other thing we had on there was is visible, which I don't have at the moment. Let's just hard code that to true, and then we're going to make a button to control this. So we'll call this is conversation context visible. And we'll just bond that over here. And let's just hard code that to true for now. Okay, cool. So then I think if we go back to here, let's just try to refresh this. Oh, no, you're not up. Let's recompile it quickly. Okay, oh, I missed out the parameter on here. There we go. Hopefully, if that refreshes, it should work for us. Let's try that again and get it refreshed. There we go. Cool, there we go, perfect. So that's loaded up now. Exactly what we wanted to see. So we've got our system context and the assistant context, and let's just check how that works. If we send this message through, what should happen is this assistant should get updated with this text that's come back. Yeah, perfect. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's working. I think the only other thing I'll do is add a little button on here to hide or show it. But now that that's there, we can do some cool things. It's just a bit easier to have a bit of a play with it when you want to. So let's go and do that quickly. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go, let's just stop this and we'll add another button, another little razor component. I'll just call this collapse button. And then inside of here, we'll also have a little bit of markup, which we can copy from here. So we've got a bit of markup, and then we need two events. So we need to know when we click on the button and what the button title is. So I'm just going to copy over some other code for us just to save some time on this. And then, yes, we've got an event callback for the unclicked. We've got a property that says whether it's open or not. And then we've got the button title. Depending on whether it's open or not, it'll say hide or show. And then what we can do with that collapse button, if we go back to our chat view, is we can put that, I think, just in the chat class here, and that should work. So let's try that collapse button. What we want to say is open. So we'll set that to this property here. And then the other thing we'll do is just handle the unclicked event. Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll create a method called onHideSidePanelClicked. And I'll just grab a bit of code here. I've already done some of this stuff already, so it's easier just to show you quickly. Go down here. So we'll call this method, and all we'll do is we'll say, what did we call that property? System context. Is conversation context visible? We'll just invert it, so if it's showing, it'll hide it. If it's hidden, it will show it. That should do that bit. And then I think all we need to do then, we've got that is visible over there, so that should be good. If we run that, let's give it a go. Okay, cool, so that's running. It's got the button there, and it does what we want. It's just not quite positioned as I want. I think I'm missing a bit of CSS, so let's go and sort that out quickly. Okay, so what we need to do is just add a CSS file for this. So we'll say, what did we call it? Collapse. You see, I've not spelled it right again. Let's just stop this again. I'm terrible with typing. There we go. Right. Let's just correct that on here if we've got it incorrect. Yeah. There we go. Cool. And then the other thing we wanted to do was just to go and add a CSS file for this. So if we do that quickly, you might CSS. I've got a bit of CSS here. This is just to set the color and the background on it. If we run that, that should be a little bit better. And then there's a tiny bit more CSS. But let's see how this looks quick. Okay, cool. Yes, so that's at least got the right color now. And then I think if I put it in the wrong position, it should. Oh yeah, what we need to do, I think, is just pop it here at the top of this. You can obviously style this however you want, to be honest, but if we put that there, oh, there we go. Yeah, then it's kind of at the top where we wanted it. Cool, so that's pretty much all of that up and running. The one thing we haven't done yet, which maybe we should tackle quickly, is the auto scrolling of this. So, and also probably style this scroll bar here. You'll notice when it gets to the end, it doesn't auto scroll. So if I was to send that again, it just keeps generating. You have to manually kind of scroll the chat, which is not very good. So I think let's tackle that because that's a slightly different area. What we're going to need to do is use some JavaScript to allow us to do that. Yeah, so let's just stop this, and then where we need to do this is in the conversation view. What we'll do over here is we can override the onRender, on after render. So every time it renders, it will call this function. What is this? Void. No, what we want, sorry, is the asynchronous method. So we want to override async. There we go. Cool. yeah, so it'll call this method each time it renders. So anytime its data bindings or anything changes, it's going to call this. And then what we're going to need to do for this is actually call some JavaScript to essentially find this div and then just auto scroll it down. So in order to do that, we need to use the JavaScript API. I'll just bring over some code again for this just to show you guys how to do that. 1 second. Okay, so what we need to do is inject the JavaScript runtime. What that would allow us to do is execute JavaScript functions. So I'm going to copy this over as well. And then we'll call this method each time we render, just to make it scroll down. Might actually call it, yeah. That's fine. The other thing we need, so in order to call this JavaScript method, we need to pass a reference to this element into the JavaScript so that it knows which element we're talking about. Now the way that you do that is in Blazor is you can define an element reference, and then on the element itself, so that will be on this div over here, which is what's got the scroll box on it, we can add a reference attribute that will then allow us to have reference to that, and then we can pass it into our JavaScript. Now this JavaScript doesn't exist at the moment, so we need to go and add that. I'm going to do, again, a bit of a quick and dirty way of doing this. I'll probably move this all out into like a proper JavaScript file or TypeScript file and actually compile the JavaScript from it. But for the time being, what I'm going to do is just go to our layout file, and in here we can add some JavaScript. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll just add a script tag in here. We'll just set this type to text JavaScript. And then, so what we were doing in this component, conversation view, so we're going to create an object on the window called ChatGPT methods, and then a function called scroll to end. So if we go back to here, what we'll do in here is just go, I'll copy some code over again, saves me typing this all again after it's all been done. So if we do this, so we're defining ChatGPT on the window, and then within this ChatGPT we're adding our scroll to end. So like I said, I'll probably replace this at some point just to load from a JavaScript file, probably compiled from TypeScript. TypeScript's my personal preference when it comes to working with JavaScript and client-side frameworks. But I think that should be sufficient now to allow us to do. So all it's doing, so on here we take in the text area, which is that reference I just showed you, and then we're just using JavaScript to say set the scroll top to the height, which basically scrolls it down to the bottom. So let's give that a go. We give this a start. Perfect. Right, let's just send that through. It looked like it started doing it. Let's send through one more just so we can see. Yeah, there we go. So you see now how it's auto scrolling that div for us. Perfect. Cool. Well, I think what I'm going to do is leave it there for today. In the next video, we can tackle adding the audio. So that's a bit more similar to this, bit of JavaScript that we need to implement to record the audio file. And then once you've got the audio file, it's just a case of calling the OpenAI API, passing it that file, and then it will return back the text for you. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, guys. Bye.